Writing a story, I'll just sort of try, okay, first person, third person, omniscient, just the different things and see, you know, what could I play with this story? Does it work better to have a narrow view where you don't know what's going on, or would it work better as like a suspense where you know about the bomb and they don't?
Guys, welcome back to the Men's Adventure Fiction podcast. Another great night talking the genre we love here with Nathaniel and a special guest. I love a nice guest episode. This is going to be fun. So, man, Nathaniel, how you doing? And tell us about this guest.
I'm doing good, my friend. I'm always a pleasure to be here talking about this genre that has so many subgenres, so many incredible different stories within it, and never better than having a guest with us. So tonight we have Brina Williamson with us, who has written a very cool book, Morona Grant. Great character, great stories that she's working on. I'm going to pass it over to her. She can tell us a little bit about herself.
Okay, where to start? I started out as an artist, and then I got into writing because I had a lot of ideas for stories with my art. So I'm a writer-artist, and
Nice.
yeah, I've written a few shorts and like mysteries and stuff, but Morona is my first like full-length novel.
Very cool.
And then I've written the sequel for that, and I'm currently working on the art for it.
It's awesome.
So plugging away, working on illustrations and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's
then I have
amazing.
plans for a bunch more in that series.
Let's go. That's very cool. Yeah, and the reason that our topic for today, perfect for you since you are a cover artist, is we're going to be talking about, I guess, judging books by their covers,
Right.
judging
We're not
all media
supposed
by. Yeah.
Everyone
we're gonna-
does it.
If you don't have a good cover, then you do lose readers. It's very true. But we're not only going to talk about books. We'll talk about movies. We'll talk about comics. We'll kind of just run all over the place with it. But yeah, we can rock and roll. We each have brought kind of like a person or a few examples of some of our favorite covers or cover designers. Luke, would you want to start us off?
Sure. Yeah, I got a cluster back here. When we were talking
Let's
about
go.
cover artists and art and stuff, James Bama's name came to mind because at Pulp Fest I got like a ton of these Nevada Jim novels, and
Very
the
cool.
reason was the covers, and they're all like, they have his name written there, and that's how I learned about him. They're like, these are James Bama covers. Apparently, he did all the Doc Savage art, too. So I ended up just picking up this lot of them so I could have all these sick covers. So James Bama does, like, realism, I guess, maybe. I'm not the art guy. I'm really bad at that kind of stuff. So I think it's considered realism. And he did a lot in, like, the Western style. Like, he would do a lot of Western art and a lot of dudes on cowboys, and that's why he was perfect for the Nevada Gyms. Guy has a jean jacket with no shirt under it. Perfect, dude. What is
That's
he
what you
doing
need.
out there?
Yeah,
That's my pick.
I was just looking at some of his stuff. It even looks like he didn't necessarily exclusively do book covers. It looks like he was just like actually like a painting artist as well.
Right, and he did. I think he did he did art too, like photography. Like he did just
very
like
cool.
straight up photography or westerns. Another guy with no shirt. But yeah, this was my pick, and my question to you is like, have you ever seen James Bama or any of these covers anywhere?
Haven't.
Okay.
I researched a lot of like pulp movie posters and book covers and all that sort of stuff when I was figuring out mine. So it has sort of a little bit of everything
Right.
in it. I mean, obviously, I don't know if I'm supposed to mention since I was supposed to pick an artist,
Yeah.
the main inspiration for my cover was Drew Struzan art. Like,
Drew Struzan.
yeah, Indiana Jones, obviously. Got to go to the classic one
Yeah.
to
Right.
figure
Can't
out
go
what
wrong
they
with
did
that.
right. But yeah, I feel like with book covers, mine's been commented on looking kind of movie poster-esque, and that's probably because I researched a lot of movie posters like old pulp posters
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
to just sort of see what they did to give it a bit of the classic style, but then I also wanted it to have like a more modern, movie posters and that kind of thing. So, but
Yeah, the flair of like modernity in it is definitely
yeah,
kind
you
of
want it to
necessary.
still be new,
Right.
but have that old flair to it.
Yeah, that's what I love about kind of like indie publishing in general is you get more diversity in the covers. You get like more freedom in the covers where
Yeah, lots
you
of
know,
creative freedom.
right, some of the covers in traditional publishing, not that there aren't great covers, but sometimes they'll just like strip all the fun and like
Right.
soul out of them, and it'll just be the Executioner one really gets me because the Executioner used to have great covers like that, and now it's just like a gun and a background every time, just gun background. You're like, come on.
I feel
There's
like
so
a lot
much-
of fantasy books have that kind of thing, like a sword or something. And I'm
Right.
like,
Just
fantasy
shield.
is supposed to be epic paintings and like
Yeah.
complex art. I love covers, but it always gets called cluttered. Like, no,
Yeah,
it's
not cluttered.
rich.
So yeah, it's so good. I'm
I
with
know.
you. That's where the indie world definitely has that above traditional right now. I think is that the
Yeah.
covers are so much thicker.
You can try new things.
Absolutely.
So I don't have an answer for this, but why do you guys think that is? Why do you think they really tried to streamline cover design?
I think it's probably to do with marketing primarily. If something works, they want it. It's also a visual language thing. It's if this cover was on this really popular book, you want to say this book is similar to that one you really liked, and so there's kind of jokes online about how certain genres all look the same, and I think it's purely marketing, but in a lot of ways, if your book looks exactly like everything else, people are just going to think, oh, that's that book I read already, because they saw
Right.
it before. Whereas if it looks different and it has some character to it, it's like, oh, what's that? It'll get their interest a little bit more. So, I mean, I'm no marketing expert, but as an artist, I think it should capture the story more than just, it's like that one, or it's, similar
Yeah.
to
Right.
something else.
That's a really good point too, because I was at Barnes recently, and I kind of had that similar thing where I saw this cover, and I couldn't realize, was this a sequel to that book? Was
Yeah,
this that book, or was this a book trying to be that book? And I was like,
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen that before. Like I was like, this is not new of a cover design. So that's a good point. And then
Sometimes I'll look at things and I'll be, do I own that? Is that one I
Right.
have on? Because it all looks
yeah, they all look too similar. Even
too
like
similar.
Jack Carr has some great covers, but like they do kind of follow too similar of a format sometimes. So if they run out of color palettes, they're gonna be done for.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna
Yeah.
recycle a color palette, and I'm gonna think it's the 4th book, and it's gonna be the 9th book, and I'm
Yeah,
gonna be thrown for a loop, dude.
Yeah, that
yeah.
is really interesting because I wonder. That makes me wonder too, like if maybe the reason pulp covers kind of fell out was because they were like, oh, it's just another shirtless guy in a jean jacket,
Right,
you
right.
know. But it's like
50 of those on this.
I would much rather look at that than just like a random gradient of a color and a gun. You know, like I want to
Yeah,
see something
yeah.
that like pulls me into the characters. And both of these people that you guys have talked about so far do such a good job of creating stories that you're like, this is something I want to read. Like this is super engaging to me.
Yeah, like the first Indiana Jones poster, it's like it has the central figure with him with his whip. But then what I like about it is it's got all the other detail with all the other characters and like little scenes from, so it has that focal point, but it has all the detail, so if you go in closer you can get curious about, oh, what's that? Oh, what's that scene? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
And then if it were a book cover, for example, as you're reading it and getting to those scenes, you can look back and go, oh, that's what that is. And it just
Yeah.
makes it more fun to me to have lots of little details in there, collages and stuff.
You as a writer too, do you like coming up with a story idea? Does a lot of it come from like you starting with a sketch and then you kind of building like what's happening in that world, or how do those two link together for you?
I think I've definitely had, not necessarily a sketch, but I've had like a visual in my head, and so I sort of mold a scene around it because I
Yeah.
like the imagery of it. I have had, like, I'll do a character piece and then
Right.
build a story around that character. Morona was very much, I did a character of an adventurer,
Nice.
and then I think I put her on a cover and gave it a fake name, and it had no story,
Right,
and it
right.
was a nothing, and then I built off of that, but...
That's incredible.
Yeah,
because I
that's
know
incredible.
Nathaniel and I have both kind of said that for a lot of our story ideas, it comes from like a kind of a set piece or like an action scene we see. So I wonder, if I were an
Yeah.
artist, I wonder if that would happen for me, where if like I was, drawing certain sequences or drawing a character, like you said, I'm sure
Yeah.
that opens up that part of your brain to be like, what do they have going on? What's this story? That's pretty.
There's a story here. I want to
Pretty
figure it
cool.
out.
All right.
Well,
Yeah, that's
it's almost like seeing a poster for something else, and you want to
Yeah.
know what happens. Only I have to write it.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's like, I mean, it does sound very much like Luke and I were just talking about. I think we were talking with Jake from the Discord about that, where it's like all of a sudden I'm sitting there like driving in my car and I imagine this like really cool action sequence. I'm like, all right, well now I got to write a whole entire short story to make that thing happen, But that's also usually that action sequence would probably make the best scene for the cover. I mean, thinking of like the Uncharted video games, Uncharted 2, Among Thieves is him hanging off of the train, and there's like guns falling in the background. It's just a wide open cliff, and that's one of the coolest set pieces of the game. So it makes sense that it's kind of like, oh, if I could draw, I would be drawing a cool sequence, and if I'm drawing a cool sequence, then I got to write a story for it, So that makes a lot of sense. That's really cool. I hadn't thought about
I
that.
almost feel like books almost need more visual on the cover because you have to make it all up as you're reading it.
Right.
Right.
So it's like it gives you that taste of the world on the cover instead of just a sword. And then
Yeah,
it's like,
for
okay,
sure.
it feels generic fantasy now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
And that's where like some readers I've heard, they're like, hey, don't put too much of like what the person looks like on the front cover, because what if I want to like come up with it? But like, no, you don't get to come up with it. This is the character. I like seeing the character.
Right.
Yeah, like I'm gonna tell you what they look like anyway. Let me put a sick picture of them in the jean jacket with no shirt.
Yep.
And you have to deal with that. Like
I
I
think I've
don't.
seen people complain about it when it's like a model and they don't really resemble the character as described. But if you
Yeah.
get an artist to do it, then they're
Yeah.
going to look right because you can tell them all the things. All
Yeah, I
the
was kind
details.
of curious about that with you guys. Like, what is your biggest like cover sin? I guess is it when it doesn't describe the book at all, or is it like when it's too generic? Like,
Oh,
what
like
covers
something
drive
I
you
don't
most
like?
mad? Yeah, what covers what covers make you the most mad type of thing, or like what on a cover?
I don't know that I think just kind of, I don't know, flat, uninspired. Just, I don't know what it is. I don't really, just kind of
Too bland.
too bland. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's ones that are very, very simple and they can be very striking, but there's some where it's just kind of like some geometric shapes and I don't really know what it is. And it's,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, it doesn't really give you much to know what genre it is or whatever.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't like that when I can't tell what genre it is. That makes me annoyed, especially when it's in the literary fiction section of like Barnes, where it's just all open range, and you're just, all right, is this gonna be like a romance, or is this an action story, or is it? And I'm like reading the back flap, and then I'm like, I'm still not convinced, and then I'll like read some of the paragraphs. I'm like, what is this? Is this supposed to, like, what is this supposed to be? I think that might be mine, honestly. If it, like I can't figure out
You can't
distinctly
tell
what
what
it
it
is,
is, yeah.
yeah, if I can't figure out the genre, it's gonna drive me
Yeah.
nuts, and I probably won't read it. What
Yeah.
about you, Nathaniel?
Yeah,
I
the
feel
visual
I
of it.
feel like I'm in two camps here. My brother-in-law's birthday was February 5th, so not that long ago, and he and I have both been listening to the audiobooks of Redwall. Very great series if you guys haven't heard it or watched of it or heard of it or watched it or read it or anything like that. Basically, it's about a bunch of mice who are in like a high fantasy setting. Super cool. It's written for young adults or children, but it has a lot of punch to it. But I wanted to get him some of the books of that, and I was looking, and they had some really cool like leather bound versions, but they were just like leather, and I kind of like that because it's like mysterious. It adds a cool like, oh, this is a family heirloom, so that's cool. But then it's also, I looked at him and I said, this has nothing to do with Redwall. Like I literally don't know what this is. It could be a Bible, it could be a thesaurus, it could be anything. I have no idea what it is, but it was cool. It was cool looking. But the Redwall cover art is incredible. It's these really spectacular paintings of mice in these warrior poses wearing sick outfits, or there's a couple like sea otters and badgers. They're just out of this world. So I ended up getting him the first 9 books in hardcover. I found them on eBay pristine condition. So I think, to answer your question, to circle around, the second camp that I would be in would be, if there's not a person on it, I don't like it as much. And I don't mean that in like if it's Fabio on there, I don't like it at all. Get that out of here. But I love the pulp aspect of it, like the pulp art. I mean, I've got Louis L'Amour's Last of the Breed right here, and it literally has a dude running in the snow. I love that sort of thing. One of my favorite ones, Luke, I think you posted it on your Instagram not that long ago. It's a dude. He's in a swamp. He's
right.
not wearing a shirt. He has a 45, and he's hiding behind a tree. And right behind his right shoulder, I think there is a group of natives canoeing through the river, and it's just so cool. It literally pulls you right into the scene, and you're thinking, what's happening here? I have to pick up this book to find out, first of all, how he got there. How many rounds does he have left in his gun? Because there's a lot of people there. Is he going to be able to get them all? What is he going to attack them, or is he just going to kind of go for cover, try to stay hidden? It literally makes you open the book, to the point Luke mentioned. I mean, maybe the biggest tragedy of all time as far as covers have gone is the Executioner covers, because they were some of the coolest art. Luke sent me one. I think it's Mac and another dude, and they both have knives, and they got their hand on the other guy's knife, and they're just real close up on their face, but then it might be in a little circle off to the side, or I know there's one where it's just a close-up of Mac's face, and in his sunglasses you can see the people he's fighting. But the other one where they got the knives, there's a little cutout, and it has 3 or 4 scenes from the book in there. And to your point, Brina, that's so cool to have multiple different scenes that can draw you in, because now you're looking at this one big kind of set piece, and you're like, all right, this is the linchpin of the book, but it's not the only thing in the book. There's this fight scene. There's this chase scene. And it's all right, well, I got to buy it now, because it's at least 4 thrills, and they're all on the cover. So I know I got that going for it. So I think that's it for me.
Yeah, when you mentioned the red, what was it, the red series?
Red Wall.
Red Wall. Yeah, very similar situation with the Louis L'Amours. If you guys have ever seen the leather-bound Louis L'Amours. Yeah. I always see them at the bookstore, but I never want to pick them up, because his covers that are like this, I can't beat that. I love the painting of the cowboys and that kind of stuff. And funny enough, dude, this Nevada Jim is a Radigan cover for Louis L'Amour, which is super interesting. They just recycled the same exact picture and put it on Louis L'Amour's book. So what's up with that? How did that even happen?
I was wondering if Jim Bama was responsible for a lot of the cover design for Louis stuff, because it looks very similar.
Yeah, this is the first cover I had for Radigan.
I know, I should look in my book. Right here.
So I don't know how that happened, but
yeah.
How do we feel about when they put the movie pictures on the cover? What do you guys think of that?
I don't know.
I think it depends on if I liked the adaptation.
Very true.
Well, that's a good point.
Yeah, because I have novelizations of the Karate Kid movies, and I love those. I love seeing that cover. But
dude, that's sick that you have novelizations of the Karate Kid movies.
I know. I've only found the first. I think it's the first 2, or maybe it's 1 and 3. But I'm missing I'm missing 1. So I gotta
even
find
still
that.
with Lord of the Rings, I don't really want the movie on there. I want, because there's so many good artists that have done art for that. I want the art. I don't want.
Do you have a favorite version of that Lord of the Rings?
I just have paperbacks right now, but I got my sister a box set of I think it's Alan Lee. It was fully illustrated hardcover edition.
I love those types of editions where you there's so many pictures and pieces within them. I had this Dante's Inferno that I got from a Five Below, I feel not a Barnes, but it was chock full of actual paintings. It was glossy pages. It was sweet.
Yeah.
I don't know where it is anymore. It might be in a box somewhere, but it was really cool. I gotta break that out and bring it to the Discord and show you guys.
That's really cool.
Because it's pretty neat. I love a nice illustrated edition.
Yes, I always have to put illustrations in. I just can't not.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool.
That adds another flair, because it's those great illustrated classics. Did you ever read those growing up?
Yeah, dude. So, I certainly did. Yeah, they're made for kids, but they have like everything. I had a Tale of Two Cities. I had the Prince and the
Oh.
Pauper. I had Robin Hood was my favorite. King Arthur was my second favorite.
Nice.
Yeah,
So
I think
cool.
I heard about those like after I was an adult.
Yeah.
I didn't get those as a kid.
Same for me. I didn't really read them as a kid. I have kids now, so I can get them
Right.
for my son. But yeah, growing up, I didn't read them, but I saw them at this local bookstore and got into them because same thing. They have illustrations throughout them. Like
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
sketches. A lot of them are like, they look like pencil sketches. At least in the ones I've seen, which are really,
Yeah.
really sick.
Yeah.
Like black and white art.
So
Yeah.
how
I like
many
the ink ones too.
how many sketches do you put in your book?
I usually try to do kind of every other chapter. So
Okay.
if I have like 40 chapters, it's going to be like 20 works of art.
That's really
So,
impressive.
Yeah.
This one I'm doing a little bit more, I think. I've only done a few, but yeah, I got a little portfolio here if you want.
Very cool.
Absolutely. Yes.
Hearing. I was going to share this one. This is the most recent one I did. I don't know if that's reflecting
so
or
sick.
what.
Dude, I need that mustache.
I know that's what you've
I
been
want
posting
that
these
so
on your
bad.
Instagram, right?
Yeah.
I've been seeing that dude
right.
with the mustache, and I was like, nah, I need
This
that.
one, I don't know if you guys have seen covers for, I think there was Men's Adventure magazine back in the
Yeah.
day, like the old 40s, 30s.
Yeah.
But I found a bunch of covers, and it's a guy in the jungle, and he's getting attacked and bitten by a swarm of leeches, a swarm of turtles, a swarm of, like it's monkeys, whatever.
Weasels,
So
I think,
it
was the one too.
Yeah, weasels.
So out
But
of
so
pocket.
that's what this is kind of reminiscent of, is
Yeah,
the guy
awesome.
getting attacked by, it's not a swarm, but
Right.
anyway, so I was like, okay, I got to put that in there because I have a scene that it fits. So,
That's so cool.
but
That's
yeah.
too good. And that's where, as the Discord grows and you guys watching jump into it so we can grow further, it's like we need to put together those men's adventure magazines where you get to do the illustrations, we write the stories. Like, we just need more of that back out there because
for real.
Yeah.
it's so sick having. I love, like, the art to me in Pulp is just as much a part of it as the stories themselves. Like, I love Pulp covers, I love Pulp art just as much. I mean, my Instagram is just an ode to Pulp art constantly.
That's how as it should be.
Right. So I love the mix of them in Men's Adventure magazines back in the day, and like the Men's Adventure Quarterly who do the reprints now. It's such a, I guess, lost art, or like something that is
Yeah.
Yeah.
underrated.
I think art on covers is definitely a lost art. You have to get like a
Absolutely.
really fancy special edition for
Yeah.
it to have good art. It's usually
Yeah.
a photo or something simple, and then if it's popular enough, it gets its special edition with
right. Yeah.
fancy
Every
art.
book that I have, like this one's contemporary near me. It's just like a picture.
Yeah,
like
it's
you
just
said,
text,
it's just
usually.
a picture and huge text.
Trying
And
to
I understand like indie authors doing that if you can't afford a cover artist, but it's the big publishers are all doing it.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
which shouldn't be the case. They can afford whatever they want,
Yeah.
so do a sick cover, please. Even Clive Cussler, I think, is one of the more like sad stories too, because Clive Cussler's in this genre, and his paperbacks are amazing, but his hardcovers, like I have one up there, it's same
Yeah.
thing we were talking about with the fantasy. It's just like a shield.
Yeah.
I'll grab this one.
Yeah, I have a Clive Cussler.
It's just
Yeah,
what
what's
we could do more.
going
Than
Yeah.
that. Do more than
It's
that.
not a bad cover, but it's not
But it's
as
not
rich
as
as it
good.
could
right?
be.
It's not
Yeah.
a
as
great.
good as
It's
it
not a
could
great
be.
cover. Yeah. Yeah, dude, it's
I
so
feel like
sad.
one of the last times I went to Barnes and Noble, I found myself going to the like middle grade section because they have art. They have like artists and
Yeah.
style to them, and it's kind of funny. It's like you probably get into books as a kid with all these covers and all these characters, and
Right.
and then you start reading, YA and
books,
whatever
yeah.
else, and it doesn't really have much.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sad. It's like I don't understand how that happened. I don't understand what point in your trajectory as an adult you're like, give me the boring
Right.
cover.
Give me the
What
I'm
happened to the
tired
cool
of
art?
I'm tired of being excited by the book on my shelf. Like I don't want to see that. I don't want to be inspired to read. Like what happened? Who's playing with this? Yeah,
Like
I don't know.
like you spoke to earlier, Brina, about marketing. I think you're 100% right. It's just
Yeah, I
weird that
think
like
that's what it
that
is.
was just such a downward spiral. Like clearly one book, we got to find out what it is,
No,
go
it was
back,
just
find the origin,
we
punch
got to
them in the
track it
face.
to a timeline too. When was the date? When was the date?
Because some scumbag put the simple cover on it, and they were like, "This did really, really well." So the next book that came out, they're like, "Hey, you remember that book? Let's do a similar cover." And then they just kept doing that and titrating down until we have just giant text, color backgrounds, and we're just, no, dude, this is wrong.
Well, I think that's probably a good point too of how Brina you were saying like now everything looks derivative of each other, but it probably was
Yeah.
the first person who did it was like, dude, this is a totally different thing. I never seen this before. And now everybody's like, all right, let's do the
Yeah,
exact same thing.
yeah.
It's like, no, you need what we should do is variety. So now we're gonna have a
We
big
need
resurgence
trying
of
new
pulp
things.
covers.
Yeah.
What was
So.
that?
I was just saying, you need to keep trying new things. That's the point of being creative.
Yeah,
Right.
Trying new things.
Yeah, we need
Just doing what
somebody
works.
out there to put the pulp covers back in the mainstream because it's not. The covers aren't doing it for me.
That's the funny thing is, because I was referencing like movie posters because most book covers, as we've been talking about, are relatively simple, and I wanted
Yeah.
something that was complicated.
Right.
And I don't know how many reviews I've gotten. I mean, I don't have a lot, but a bunch of people have told me that they bought the book purely because they liked the cover.
Heck
They're
yeah.
like, "Oh, that's really cool." So they didn't even know what it was. They were just like, "That looks like Indiana Jones. That's probably like Indiana
Yeah.
Jones. I
Right.
want to read something like that." And then they read it, and it's very much in that vein. And they're like, "Oh, great!" And that's one of the other things is if you style your cover not only eye-catching and rich, but also it speaks to the genre that it is.
Yeah,
It's kind of.
So
I think
true.
I had somebody in a review say it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's like that
Yeah.
cover, that's the book.
It's amazing.
Well, that's
That's
perfect.
such a good point. I think you mentioned a word that was way cool that I'm too dumb to retain, but you said something about like visual literacy or something like people seeing that and knowing what it means. Like that's something.
Oh,
something to
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's such a good point because you look at a certain cover and if you kind of like you're locked into that vibe. You're like I want that.
Yeah.
That's a part of the conversation you're having as the writer with the reader of like this is the promises
Yeah.
I'm making you. We're gonna have
It's
this
part
type of
of
story.
it's part of selling the book. You want them
Yeah.
to know what they're getting and
Yeah.
to see it in an instant just from the cover.
Right.
And it makes them want to buy it, and then they're not disappointed when they read it because you were honest with
Right.
what they're getting.
Yeah.
Maybe-
it becomes,
Maybe
Okay.
that's why people are doing the super bland covers is because they don't want to commit to something. They don't want people
Right.
to come in with expectations. So they're like,
they're like I didn't say that.
yeah,
It's
a
just
beach,
bland. You put
a
that on
beach
there.
and like a color gradient and
Yeah.
some type. No one will know. So I mean, I think who's the guy who's revamping Doc Savage and The Shadow? I can't. Did it James Patterson?
James Patterson, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, his Doc Savage cover for his new book is truly horrible. Let me see. I see if I can pull it up.
It's not great, huh? Well,
No,
that's
it doesn't
that's a
even
shame.
look.
He's
yeah,
gotta
I
be a
don't.
shirtless guy, dude. What is he doing? Just grab any of the one shirtless guys from all the ones that James Bama did and put them on. Just put them on. Because this is, I think, funny enough, isn't a lot of the time it's the same reference picture too. Like they'll have Doc Savage there, and they'll draw him as Doc Savage, and then they'll have him, and then they'll just put a jean jacket on him and call him Nevada Jim. It's like the
Yeah,
same dude.
Here you go. You're not going to be able to see this very well, and that's
But
kind
I
of the
see that
problem.
there's no dude on it, so that's the problem.
There's literally, it's just a big wave. It's called
Okay.
Murder Island, and there's a big wave. It's like, dude, that's not
Oh,
Doc
okay.
Savage. That's so far from Doc Savage. But yeah, to that point, dude, there was the guy who was the model for Doc Savage was like the model for almost all
Everybody.
pulp art.
Yeah.
Which is, dude, how do you get that job? That would be so much fun, dude.
I bet you could get that job, dude. You look like a men's adventure fiction hero. You could just
Thanks, dude.
with a gun and just let's get people to take
Give
pictures.
give me a sword, a wig, and a gun. We'll just go crazy. But that brings me back to I wanted to ask you, Brina, what are some of your other movie posters that inspired the cover for your book?
Honestly, I think I mostly looked at kind of old covers,
Okay.
just vintage covers.
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of. I think I did look at a lot of Doc Savage too.
Nice.
Yeah, it was primarily the Indiana Jones posters, and
Yeah.
because that's the funny thing though is there were a bunch of kind of pulp movies after I published my book, like the Uncharted movie and
Yeah.
Jungle Cruise and all those sorts of things.
Hmm.
And the funniest part was the Uncharted movie poster was really, really similar to the original kind of mock-up that I did of my cover.
That's so funny.
It's like the blue sky with the compass in the background and the kind of collage of characters, and
Yeah.
it was just so. I was like, "Oh my goodness, that's my old cover."
That's amazing.
They hacked your
Yeah, I was
computer.
just kind of drawing
Crazy.
from everything, and then taking bits of pulp covers and posters
Yeah.
that I liked, and creating sort of my preferred of it.
Yeah, and I really like that about yours. Whereas like all of the James Bama stuff is pretty much just like one character in a shot, but yours has so many layers, and I think that that's really cool. I think that to your point, that does kind of seem to be more of a movie poster thing, whereas books
Yeah.
seem to shy away from that as much. Like they don't want to give too much.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see like snatches of so many different levels of the story. I like that a lot.
Yeah,
And going back to like expectations of audience, it almost like cinematic writing is sometimes what people are searching for. Like I like my books to feel like movies,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if you
Yeah.
have that same language or like that same kind of visual cue, that can help back to like the selling the book and giving them what they're actually coming for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Making
Yeah,
it
for sure.
feel like a movie poster. Good call, because it can be allude to like cinematics in it being
Yeah.
that kind of story, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point. When I see that, I'm like, oh, this is going to read like a movie, like an Indiana
Right.
Jones movie. And
Yeah, I
that's
think
exactly
I
right.
tend to. I write very visually just because as a kid I didn't read a lot. I got into reading later. And so I watched a lot of movies. And so when I think of a story, it's a movie in my head a
Right.
lot more than it is a book. But
Yeah.
it's kind of like that. I can't make movies on my own at my desk, so I write books instead.
Right. Yes,
Trust me,
yeah, very
I
true.
relate to that.
I also relate. I think I didn't get into reading proper until I was near 20 years old with First Blood.
Yeah.
Before then, same thing, just movies, ripping movies every day. I love them, but so my same thing, like storytelling wise, I can't help but see it as a movie. And some of my
Yeah.
earlier stuff, I couldn't help but put it in like present tense for that reason. Like screenplays are written in present tense, and like
Right.
you're seeing it play out. But so it took me a while to even learn how novels go past tense and kind of getting more into that. Took a minute.
I mean, you can do it present, but I feel like that's maybe a more modern way of writing. So
Right.
if you're trying to do something vintage, it maybe isn't going to
Right.
work as well. Could work, but
And I just like having the variety too. I still need
Yeah.
to write a little bit more first person. I've been stuck in third person for a while, so I know Nathaniel's. You're really good in first person, and you do a lot of first person work. I need
Thanks,
to get
man.
back to doing first person. It's been too long.
I probably need to practice with that one too. I'm always third person.
I just feel like I will do the I if I do that, and it'll just be just not fun to read.
Well, I think third person, it's so tough. I really enjoy first person to write in, and I enjoy it it gives you a lot of benefits with you're describing a scene or you're describing plot building elements that are pretty mundane, not that exciting, but now I'm telling it to you, right? Now it's like, oh, I'm getting to know this person by noticing what he notices, what he's looking at, the details that he's picking up, the things that are making his mind tick. So now it becomes a character study as much as it is a scene study, which is a really cool thing to do. That being said, if you have a not great first person narrative, it is not very entertaining because you're like, oh, this is a boring person. I don't care what they're noticing, So that's the struggle with first person. I do really, really like third person, and I feel like third person lends itself better to action sequences or investigation or adventure because it's really hard, and this is true for video games too. If you're playing a first person shooter video game and you do a chase scene, it's super like disjointed and hard to visualize, and because the camera's moving around so differently than your actual eyes do. But if you're doing a third-person video game, you can follow that motion a lot better, and it has more of a cinematic feel. Same thing kind of in fight sequences or chase sequence. If I'm writing it in first person, unless you take a lot of care to detail, it can fall flat, whereas in third person, you're outside and you're able to see everything happening and you're able to know kind of everything at once. So it can work a lot better, I think. So I love both mediums. And like you said, Luke, it is good to have variety on lock, be able to do kind of like, oh, this scene should be first person. Oh, this scene should be third person. I'm going to write this novel this way. I think that's a really good point you made there.
Brina, as a reader, do you have a preference between first person, third person as far as a reader?
I think it just depends on the story, like what it calls for. I've enjoyed pretty much all the different tenses and perspectives in different books, and it's like all of them can be done well, all of them can be done bad, and like when I'm writing a story, I'll just sort of try, okay, first person, third person, omniscient, just the different things, and see, what could I play with this story? Does it work better to have a narrow view where you don't know what's going on, or would it work better as like a suspense where you know about the bomb and they don't, and that kind of thing?
Right.
So it just depends on the story and what it needs to work. But yeah, I think they're all good for their different things, and it just it's entirely dependent on the kind of story you want to write and the kind of perspective you want to give.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely not like super particular about that as a reader, where it's like if I pick up a book and I see it's first person, I'm not gonna nice Maggie, how you doing? I'm not gonna be like, oh no, I like them all. And when first person is done right, to Nathaniel's point and the dog's point, is that when it's done right, it's done so well it's such a good book because you're so invested in that character. Yeah. And you feel like you're like a part of them, or like at least such good friends with them. So yeah. I need to get back to first person is the point.
Well, and that's what's nice too. It's like if I had to read only first person, that would be a bummer. But I don't. If I had to read third person, that would be a bummer. So it's nice to have variety.
Yeah, I don't want to veer us off of movie posters too much. What for you then, Nathaniel? What movie posters stick out to you? Or any come to mind when we talk about movie posters? Like any that really caught your eye?
I think the evolution of the Mission Impossible movie posters have always been really sick to me. They started out kind of bland, and then they got increasingly better, and then they also really. Like I've said this before, I mean, we have a whole episode where I pitched that Mission Impossible wears its pulp influence on his sleeve the entire time. That was kind of the whole pitch of our episode, and I think we proved that point. But the latest one of the posters is literally just Ethan Hunt on his motorcycle off of the massive cliff that he drives off of. And it's like, that's the biggest set piece in a movie in years, because he actually did the stinking stunt. He was in like Norway or something, just drives off a cliff, dude. So cool. So it's like that. I love that, and I think that. I mean, to both of your guys' points, I'm not a huge fan of like the Reacher series. Just came out with its new season, and when they first came out with the first one, it was just like a picture of Alan Ritchson with his back to the camera, kind of looking over his shoulder. He's like taking up the whole page because he's so muscular that's just how it is. And they redid that for. What's the first book? Is it Never Go Back? I think that might be wrong.
Yeah, I forget what the first one's called. Killing Floor.
Killing Floor. So they changed that, and they said now a major like Amazon Prime show. And I agree. I don't like that as much. I think it's because not having art on a book is so jarring, because like you guys kind of alluded to and even said outright, like if it's just a model who doesn't really look like the person, I'm not sure I can get behind it. But I think if you like took that picture of Ethan Hunt on the motorcycle over the cliff and made it into an oil painting, it would be one of the hardest pulp covers of all time, or like any of the things that they do. And I think Dead Reckoning had a really cool one that kind of was similar to Indiana Jones, to Morona Grant, where it has like different tiers of the characters. Ethan's kind of big in the front, and then you see like different shots from the scenes kind of all around it. And it is so cool. It's like, all right, there's more than one reason to go see this movie. I'm not just seeing it for Ethan Hunt on the front. I'm seeing it for Ilsa. I'm seeing it for Benji. I'm seeing it for Luther. I'm seeing it for all these characters and all this different stuff that's going on. So I think that those movies are really good for covers for me.
Yeah, definitely has what you were talking about, Brina, with the different snippets, like in that new cover. I think it's the newest one where he's like there and you see in that flood or whatever it is of stuff, you just see different set pieces, you see the different characters, so that's always a nice one. I love alternative posters. You guys ever look those up, like on Pinterest? Like, like look up, like Inglorious Bastards poster. And
like just from another artist?
Yeah, it's like artists who weren't hired by the company to do it or anything, but they do alternative covers. I love those. I'll like look those up on Pinterest a lot and look at different.
I feel like I save those a lot just as like creative idea folder.
They're so good.
Yeah, the John Wick movies have some really sick alternate ones. When John Wick 4 came out, I'll have to find it and send it to you guys, but the Instagram is literally just like 7 different, like they got all these artists from Japan, from all over the place to do covers for it, and they're really, really cool. And they're not just pictures, they're like actual art and all sorts of different things. It's so sick.
Yeah. Wow.
And I can circle back to the pulp artist that I picked was Jim Steranko, who is just like a super prolific comic book artist, which ties us back into a totally different side of stuff that we haven't really talked about at all. He's I think most famously known for like Nick Fury, but he's had a couple of his pictures have been in covers of the Men's Adventure Fiction podcast titles, because he's got some really cool ones. But my favorite stuff that he's ever done, and I'm sure you probably had to come across this, Brina, when you were researching the Indiana Jones movies, but he's the guy who did the original concept art for the Indiana Jones movie. So I had it pulled up. Let me see, Jim Steranko. It's so sick. Hopefully, maybe Luke, you can put it in one of the covers, but it's this right here. The glare is terrible.
Oh.
Yeah, he's smoking.
I did see a bit of his art.
Yeah, he's really good. It's
frustrating when you're looking into stuff because they often don't name the artist.
Right.
So I'll find all kinds of cool art, but I have no idea who did it.
What's super interesting is I don't know. I remember showing this to somebody and they're like, "Oh, that concept art is actually based off of if Tom Selleck had actually gotten the role as Indiana Jones." So that's why it looks a little different, maybe a little more muscled and a little more kind of like. Not that Harrison Ford is less muscular or less masculine than Tom Selleck, but they do have
a little bit bigger.
Yeah, he's a little more kind of, I don't know if chisel's the right word, just a little more rugged maybe. So I wonder if that is true, because I look at that concept art and it's like, dude, that is a very different Indy than we got in the movie. And I love Harrison Ford.
And I was like, oh, is there a comic book that I'm not aware of?
What's going on?
Of Indiana Jones?
Yeah, so
that'd be sweet.
Really cool cover art there.
Is this guy still alive? Can he make a comic book for us immediately?
I don't know.
That'd be kind of sick. I would like that
when he died. I just had him pulled up.
Just the series of Indiana Jones adventures in comic form.
It looks like he's alive.
Definitely buy that. Nice. He can still do it.
There you go.
Well, he's 86 years old, so I don't know if.
Well, he can still do it. He's got it.
What's he gonna do for the golden years of his life?
I mean, the guy what's the guy who makes all the? It's like Spirited Away and stuff. He's still making stuff, right?
Spirited Away. Miyazaki, I think is his name.
I mean, he's still going.
I didn't know he was that old. I don't really know much about him.
Is he not? Maybe.
No, he probably is.
Maybe
he's probably like 190 years old or something like that.
We will see. Put in the comments below, how old is that guy? I don't know. 110?
We've alluded to it some, but speaking of Indiana Jones, who really is, we can we'll talk a little bit about, since we've got a cover artist on the show. Let's pick your brain a little bit. So we'll talk to you about what was your inspiration for Morona Grant? What kind of made you come up with this idea? I know, loaded question.
Well, I was gonna say the brutally honest answer was not loving the Crystal Skull movie, but
fair enough.
That aside, the main inspirations, like characters that I drew from, it was just kind of all the stuff I had grown up with. Indiana Jones, The Mummy, Tomb Raider. I started reading more books like that while I was writing it, So then I got further inspiration from things like Alan Quatermain and
Nice.
Lost World and all that kind of stuff. Journey to the Center of the Earth, all of that. I was reading while I worked on my book. But yeah, I think it was pretty heavily influenced by things like The Mummy and Tomb Raider, just the Tomb Raider with the exploration and the puzzles and the traps and the, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And so, because I played those a lot as a kid and
Nice.
just loved so I have like traps and things and tombs and, in the book. So,
That's cool.
but yeah, her character actually, because I was conscious that people would compare it to Indiana Jones, I was like, well, I got to make her own thing. And so I sort of departed and I was like, well, she's not, a professor archaeologist. She's more of a mercenary archaeologist and, a sharpshooter and that kind of thing. And she just ended up becoming kind of Rick O'Connell as a girl.
It's a great
Which
thing.
I wasn't even really thinking
Nothing
about
wrong
it, but
with
it's
that.
like I had enjoyed that movie so much as a kid, I guess,
Yeah, that's a
that
great
she
movie.
just kind of became Rick O'Connell. But so she's like Rick O'Connell's sister in a lot of ways.
I love that. I love Rick O'Connell so much. I love The Mummy.
Yeah, the Mummy is golden.
Yeah, I can't get over how much I like The Mummy, to be honest. I almost sometimes think I like it more than Indiana Jones, which probably get me beat up in a lot of corners, but
Hey, same.
I might like it more. I have to say, I love it. It's like my favorite adventure story. Because that's why I like Temple of Doom the best out of all the Indiana Joneses. It has like the most intensity or like close to horror. Not that I'm a huge horror fan. Like I only like Scream when it comes to horror, but I love that in adventure. I mean, we've talked about this before, but that's why The Mummy does it so well. It's so
It is.
fun and so like
It's a
the
masterclass.
perfect bad guy. It's so good. Yeah, you can't say enough. So that's a great thing that he's like Rick O'Connell. That
Yeah.
she's
Well,
like Rick O'Connell.
it's also I find it fun because it knows that it's not taking itself too seriously,
Right.
which is what makes it fun. You can relax and go, okay, I can eat my popcorn and it's fun,
Right.
which
Yes.
is what I like about the pulp genre, is that it's just relax and have fun and enjoy the ride kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I love about like older movies in general too. is
Yeah.
That like when you could kind of somewhat still see the filmmaking happening. Like if you catch a glimpse of like the string that's holding up like the saucer or whatever in like a 50s movie, you're like, yeah, this is amazing. It's like that kind of feeling of, this is just like you said, this is fun. This is someone putting me in a cool world, in an adventure. We're gonna have some fun together. Like the CGI does not bother me. People are like, like some of that stuff. Like, have you seen that? And it's like, yeah, I have. It's horrible, and I love it. It's the best thing.
I love this movie.
Like, bring out The Rock looking like actual PS1 video game. I'll take it.
Truly, what a remarkable movie that one is. We did a whole episode on The Mummy, but Luke and I both were saying like the second Mummy is really, really good. So good, and then you get the PS1
PS1,
Rock,
man.
and you're like, oh man, this is tough.
It's so funny.
But it's still a great movie. You mentioned Lara Croft. Do you feel like people read this and they're like, oh, you just copycatted Lara Croft? Does anyone ever get you with that? Has that happened to you before?
I've had a few people go. They went in expecting Lara Croft.
Nice.
But then they were like, oh, she's not sophisticated British. This is like a cowgirl. This is like,
That's really cool.
okay, this is a totally different thing. But yeah, a lot of people have compared it. I mean, there's not a lot of female adventurers to compare her to, so
Yeah.
it's going to happen. But I kind of see them as like almost opposite sides of a coin or something like that. Like they're very, very different in a lot of ways. Morona is always struggling with money. She's always owing somebody something. So she does not have the big house and all that.
She actually reminded me a little of Han Solo in that aspect. I thought that was a really cool
She
thing.
is a bit
slide in
Han
there.
Solo. I actually found out after I wrote it, I found out she has a lot of similarities with just Harrison Ford in general. Like, oddly enough,
Yeah, you didn't go for the Indiana Jones. You just went for Harrison Ford.
just went for Harrison Ford.
Straight to the source.
Yeah. I think there was like one interview I saw with him where he was being asked about Indiana Jones and they're like, are you afraid of snakes or heights or any of the stuff that he had to do? And he was like, no, don't care, kind of thing. So I put a little line in there where she's like, there are certain things that you cannot be afraid of if you're going to be in this business, kind of thing. And she like lists off snakes, spiders, all that, heights.
That's cool.
That's a kind of like little ode to him. That was the only like ode to Harrison Ford that I had, and then I found out they had a bunch of other similarities.
That's too funny.
Funny.
Yeah, I asked that question because it makes sense that people would immediately do that, and it isn't fair to your character for sure. And I also have experienced that with like when I have a web series on YouTube, and when I was first making it, everybody's like, "Oh, this is just like pretty much Uncharted, right?" And I was like, "I don't know, kind of, but like it really isn't." But it's like I'll take the compliment. It's a very high compliment to be compared to one of the coolest video games of all time. So, but I wanted to hear your thoughts on that. That's cool to hear. Did you have any, like, other than Harrison Ford, any real life people that you were kind of inspired by?
I'm trying to think. Maybe a bit of Annie Oakley with the sharpshooting.
Yeah, and you just said she's kind of like a cowgirl. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's cool.
She's an American cowgirl, sharpshooter. I gave her a lasso, so she's very,
nice.
Cowgirl-esque.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other real life. I kind of just researched a lot of real life adventurers.
Nice.
Didn't really base her on anyone specific. I think I had, wish I had it with me. The original like character art that I did of her was very heavily inspired by Amelia Earhart.
Okay,
she had
cool.
the kind of baggy bomber jacket look to her.
Yeah.
Her style and design changed after that, but yeah, the original character art is heavily inspired by Earhart. But then, in researching real life, like women of the 30s and the stuff they did, I was kind of joking to my sister that it was like finding out what real women did back then was okay. I gotta up my girl's game here because like the real women are doing some really cool stuff. And I was I was trying to keep it within the realms of reality, but it's like, it's Pulp. She's got to go big. I got to do more with her.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I hate to hit you with another loaded question, but we always have to ask these two questions as we wrap up. Is like, what is your favorite book of all time? If you had to narrow it to a few, or one or two, like what? The hardest question you could get asked, I know, but we have to do it.
Of all time is hard for me, so I'm gonna go with my favorite books in the two genres that I primarily write in, which is mystery and adventure. So, adventure would be Treasure Island. Oh, it's gold, so it's shiny. Sorry.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's awesome.
It's a nice Barnes and Noble edition.
Very cool.
And then mystery, because Agatha Christie, as you can probably see, is like one of my favorite authors.
There's a sick background you got going on there.
Most books from her, but and then there were none.
Nice edition again. Look at that.
Yes, I know. Well, these you can tell they're my favorites because I got really nice copies.
Yeah, that's very
amazing.
Cool.
Yeah.
No.
And of all the Agatha Christie, that one might be the one. I
That,
have that one over there.
Like
Not
it
as sick of a cover.
Started a genre of like the picking people off one by one. That one.
It definitely. Yes. Yeah. I need to read. Is it always been called Halloween Party, or maybe they retitled it that? But I want to read.
A lot of her books have had multiple titles.
Yeah.
That one.
Read that one. Because I think they just were talking about doing an adaptation, or they did an adaptation. But I want to read that one.
Are you talking about the Branagh movie?
The which one?
The Kenneth Branagh movie?
I think so.
There was a Haunting in Venice.
Haunting in Venice? Is it that?
A Haunting in Venice?
Yeah, it's very different from the book.
I haven't seen the movie at all, but I know that I know the cover. I saw it at Barnes and stuff, and it looked sick. I have not seen the movie. I watched like the first one of those and didn't really like it, so I never watched any of the other ones.
That was Murder on the Orient Express, right? The first one.
Yeah.
And then they did Death on the Nile.
They're very big budget Hollywood versions of Agatha Christie.
That's awesome. Yeah, great picks. Great picks.
Those are great picks. Now, we'll also hit you with one more. We'll put you on the spot for one more. Would you, if you had to pick any character across any medium, who's your favorite character of all time?
So I'm going to go with the same thing that I did last time
All right.
because picking a favorite character is really hard.
Perfect.
I'll do favorite mystery and adventure characters. My favorite mystery character would probably have to be Miss Marple, just because I don't know if you've heard of that one. It's an Agatha Christie. She's this little old
I've
lady.
definitely heard of her.
Yeah, she's this little old lady who's just incredibly astute and solves mysteries better than everybody else. But she's like totally humble about it and like, oh no,
That's
no,
awesome.
I just, So she's just knitting in her corner and, observing things
mysteries.
and solving.
Too good.
Yeah, it's great. She's hilarious.
Sick.
And then favorite adventure character would have to be Evelyn from The Mummy. Because can't beat her. She's just the best.
Rachel
She
Wise.
made me get a book on Egyptian hieroglyphs when I was a kid.
That's too good.
Because I wanted to be like Evie.
Yeah, that might be the greatest woman character as well. When we were talking about like what's in Indiana Jones, everyone wants to say Ravenwood, and I'm like, no, it's Evie from The Mummy. And this is the other one that people will beat me up for. They're like Ravenwood, and it's like that's wrong. I will take anyone.
She's the best. She's the best female lead in the
Yeah.
Indiana Jones franchise.
Right, that's fair. She can be that, but she cannot be the best female adventure like side duo character. The duo is Rick O'Connell and Evie.
I think that's why I like The Mummy so much, is because it's that team. It's the
they're a legit
and then they
duo.
become like this battle couple in the second one.
Yeah,
I just love those. There aren't enough of those.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not because it's not like a she's not like a sideline character like in
No,
the
yeah,
side.
they're equally.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
the
so
main-
helpful to what they're doing and knows everything they need to know. Like Rick doesn't know anything he's doing. He's just there. He's a hired man.
She's definitely not like a damsel in distress either. I know like there's times where, and that's what's cool too about it is like Rick is also the guy in distress too. Like he literally would have died if it wasn't for Evie in the first 20 minutes of the movie.
It's a supernatural foe. Everyone's going to be in distress.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great character. Great choices. Those were very good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Nice work. You crushed it. This was a really fun time.
Yeah,
Thank you
for
for
sure.
joining us for this conversation.
I think
blast.
the hardest part about this episode is going to be making the cover art enticing enough to get people. Luke, you got a lot of work you got to do for this cover. I mean, we could talk about pulp covers for years. So thank you for coming and talking about not just pulp covers but movie covers. Talked a little bit about comic stuff. So thank you so much. Thanks for sharing info on your books. And we do want to turn it over to you one more time. Where can we find you on like social media, stuff like that? Where are your books? You said we've talked about Morona Grant, but you also said you write mysteries as well. You want to touch on that a little bit?
They're right here. You probably can't see them here.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's a great background again. I love it.
It is a great background.
That's my first mystery. Bit shiny, but
Oh, that's so cool.
it's a little detective couple.
That's awesome.
Nice. There you go. The team couple. You were just talking
Yeah, I
about.
know.
there you
Well, she's a bit of a Miss Marple in that she is really astute. But yeah, so they're just two short mysteries.
Okay,
It's called
cool.
The Housewife Detective. So that one's just sort of, I was having fun. It was the first stuff I wrote, and then I did Morona, and I have a couple of short stories and some anthologies, but it's all on Amazon. So if you just look up Brina Williamson on Amazon, you can find my author page and all my stuff.
Perfect. And we'll also link it
And
below
yeah,
for
both
you.
of my social medias, I just have X and Instagram.
Cool.
With both under Brina Williamson, so pretty easy to find.
Nice.
So
And in the Men's Adventure Discord as well.
I was just about to say.
now I'm in there.
It's been a blast having you as a part of that.
Yeah.
Very
Thought
cool.
I'd jump in and see what the community's like.
Yeah. And we've had a blast having you there. Well, thank you again so much for being on the show. It's been
Thanks
too
for
much
inviting me.
Of course.
All
It
right,
was
guys.
fun.
We'll see you soon. Go pick up those books. Get some good
sure.
reading in.
Oh yeah.
All right, cool. Well, we're good to go.
We did it.
Thank you
Sorry,
so
my
much.
book covers dropped in the middle of it. Sorry, guys.
That was nice.
I lost this one. You know, the shirtless guy fighting a.
No, dude.
Oh,
Can't lose that one.
We're very happy to have you as part of the team. Very fun.
It's fun to meet so many, because I've met like 2 or 3 people on Instagram, 2 or 3 people on
Right.
Twitter that like Pulp, and
Yeah.
and that's about it. But it's like a whole community of people who
Yeah.
like it, so that's cool.
Yeah, the Discord's a pretty fun place. It's been a little. Like, there's some wild cards in there that you can never plan around. But yeah, and that's what eventually we want to do an episode talking about like what men's adventure fiction really is, because I know Luke was you were at BoucherCon, right?
Yeah.
And some people rolled up and were like, why is it called men's adventure fiction? Why can't it just be like adventure fiction?
Adventure fiction.
It was like, it's literally a genre of literature. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I didn't name it.
I
It's not my
didn't make
fault.
it up. I don't know.
I mean,
yeah,
that's what it was originally called. The original magazines
Exactly.
were
Right.
men's adventure magazines.
Yeah, but it's so cool to have a strong presence like yourself, a female, like writing stuff that falls into this genre, and I think
That's the funny thing is I've had people like see, oh, it's got a girl on it, and they're like, oh, it's going to be all feminist or something. I'm like, I just
so
like
annoying.
adventure fiction.
Yeah. I'm not
just-
trying to put any weird politics.
No, I'm
in
not
it.
trying to.
That's so
Just wanted to do an adventure story. Leave me alone.
I know, and that's the flip side too. It's like it may be like men's adventure fiction, but it's not like, oh, this is only about men and we hate women when we're writing this
Men's
story.
only club.
Yeah, it's like so stupid. So yeah, we're happy to have you on here talking about it, because it's what it's all about. I mean, dude, you gotta get
There's
a.
not trying
these covers.
break any glass ceilings here. I just write what I enjoy.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Right? It's just a fun adventure story. That's what we love this genre
Yeah.
for.
I know, dude.
Good point.
That's why Evie is one of the greatest characters of all time,
Right.
dude. What a great character.
I love it.
All right, well, cool. We won't keep you anymore, but I'll let you
No
know
worries.
before this goes live, and we'll definitely see
Yeah.
you frequently in the Discord for sure.
Yeah. Sounds good.
All right, cool.
I can't think of anything that I'm like, oh, can you cut that? But
Yeah,
maybe the disparaging comment about Indy 3 or no 4.
No, we've talked about that before. If you want us to take it out, we can, but
I've already said that online before.
I think most people agree that it's not
okay.
I mean, it's a fun movie. I don't hate it, but it's certainly
It's
not to the
honestly,
standard.
it's grown on me a lot more since
Yeah.
the first time I saw it. Like the first time I saw it, I was like, "Ah, what is this?" And
What
then
can they do?
in viewing since, it was just kind of like, okay, well, it's like my least favorite one, but it's still a fun movie.
Yeah.
Like
Did you like Dial of Destiny?
I actually enjoyed that one. Everyone hates it, but I liked it.
thought it was
I enjoyed it. Well, this would be controversial, but I actually enjoyed it more than Temple of Doom.
Yeah, some people hate Temple of Doom. I get that. I understand fully.
It's
But that's
it's
my
the
favorite.
girl. It's
Yeah, she's super.
I can't. If you took
Yeah.
her out of it, or you just turned her into
Literally anything else?
Ravenwood.
Evie.
if you turned her into Ravenwood and had her in there, it'd be fine.
Way
Yeah.
better. Yeah,
Like there's nothing wrong with the movie on its own. It's just her. I can't.
yeah, she's really bad. It's like comically bad how she's written. It's like what's.
Well, I mean, I'm sure she's supposed to be laughed at. That's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
It wasn't even funny though. Like make it
I
funny
think
at least.
both Spielberg and why am I blanking
Lucas.
on his name?
George Lucas? Yeah.
I think they were both going through divorces at the time, and so that's why they made
Then
her
didn't have a good outlook, huh?
rating. It's like okay, that
Women
makes
are
sense.
terrible.
Yeah,
Dude,
basically.
no, it slipped in.
Cut.
This
You
is-
weren't being annoying enough. Can we do another one where you're just be more annoying, please?
This is the men's
So I was-
adventure we
when I
don't
heard
want.
that, I was like, okay, that makes sense. I understand now.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
They didn't like women. Got it.
We talked with Terrence Lehue about, you talk about Alan Quartermain, the King Solomon's Mines movie, which is very not great, but Sharon Stone plays the
Very
female. She plays the female lead, and we were saying like she's just a better Willie. Like she's what Willie Scott should have been, because she did a pretty good job. She was also like fairly over the top and a little annoying. But yeah, that's a good point. That
I'd love to see a like faithful adaptation of that book. I don't know if Alan Quartermain, the King Solomon.
That would be a good book.
Because even like my brain has to register for a second that that book and that movie are related.
Well,
They're
like
just
her character
different.
is supposed to be a man.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's the way he's described. When I was reading it, I was like, "Oh, he's like Thor." Okay, like I was picturing Chris Hemsworth the whole time. Turn him into a woman.
Beast. Yeah.
It's like supposed to be this powerful,
Like warlord
huge,
descendant to.
yeah,
Right.
descendant of Thor.
And Quartermain's
And
like
then it's
60
like,
years
a
old.
woman. Yeah, no, they always make Quartermain
The
look
stud,
the way that guy was supposed to. And Quartermain's like an old, skinny. He's just a sharpshooter.
I know, dude.
He's just
he's the
a hunter.
sniper.
So did the Patrick
Yeah.
Swayze one get it the closest then? Because he's like
I
super
don't know
old.
if I've seen that one.
I have not either.
I think
but
she's
know
still.
he's-
I think the character's still a woman. They had
they couldn't.
because it's
couldn't
supposed to
give
be
me
a guy
Thor.
looking for his brother, and they change it to a woman looking for her husband.
Yeah.
Or something.
Brutal. Well, on that note, thank you so much again for joining us.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you again.
Yeah, sounds good.
Take care.